Hello and welcome to another episode of the Winning with Shopify podcast. For anyone that's not tuned in before, hello, welcome to the podcast. My name's Nick. I've been running the podcast for, I was going to say 4 years, something like that, 3 or 4 years now. It's been a long, wild ride and I'm going to continue running it as well. So if you don't like me, feel free to leave now. That was a joke. Please stay around. We love that you guys want to watch this. But if you've been tuning in for a while, welcome back. You may have read from the title and you may have read in the news, if you keep an eye on anything in the marketing world, that actually Google did a whoopsie. And Google's whoopsie this time was that they have leaked a document, or somebody's got hold of a document and leaked it across the entire internet about what is and what is not a ranking factor on SEO. So I've been working in PPC for 16, 17 years now. I'm working in SEO for probably a year or two less than that. So at least 15 years. And for my 15 years in SEO, I've been trying to work out what on earth is the ranking factors that I need to worry about. And what I mean by that is, what do I need to change on a website or do as an exercise with a brand to get them to appear number one on Google for any given search term? Now, Google's leak has told us exactly how Google, how the actual API within Google, or some people call the algorithm, how the algorithm actually calculates who's going to be at number one, number two, number three, number four, etc., etc., etc. So there's been loads of leaks about this across the entire internet. And one of the most exciting things, and I'm going to be looking down a little bit today, as I'm sure you guys will probably see, I've got, for once, a ton of show notes. Normally I freestyle a lot of the interviews, or I have a few prompts of questions to talk about with our guests. And you guys like that, which means it works and which is good. But I've got a whole list of things. So I'm going to be looking down a little bit, and then we're going to be talking through some of these points. I have, if you give me 2 seconds, I have 20 points and I'm going to run through them as quickly as possible. When you click play, you probably saw how long this video is. When it's just me, I can rattle through things quickly. So one thing to note as I go through, that Google Chrome, this is something, some people thought this, some places reported it, it kind of said this, but this leaked document confirms this. Google Chrome watch where everybody goes on the web. So even if you haven't installed Google Analytics on your website, Google Chrome will be watching and monitoring every single click that happens, where they go, what they scroll through. Everything that goes on is all logged and documented at Google, hence why they have billions of servers. I don't know if they've actually got billions of servers. They have lots of servers, and they must have tons of them to record that level of detail for every single user on every single website. And that is going to be a theme through all of this. So if you're wondering, like, oh, how do Google even know that? That's how Google Chrome is monitoring everything. So as soon as you put your Shopify store or your website up and click go, Google monitor everything. Anyway, number one, and these are in no particular order. I've just pulled these off probably about 30 different places that have been through the doc in detail. I haven't seen a copy of it myself, if I'm honest, but this is from all of the different news outlets. So I'm going to read what everybody's reporting, and it's unanimous that they're reporting each of these 20 things. These are just the most important 20, I think. And then I'm adding in what I think we need to do as a result. And the final headline before I dive into point number one is, nothing's changed. Okay? So just remember that. Nothing's actually changed. This document has just told us a couple of different tactics we need to tweak, and it's just confirmed, if I'm brutally honest, and I can say this because I can prove this with client projects we've done over the years, we have always done SEO pretty much the same way that Google is telling us to do SEO. What Google is saying is a ranking factor or something that we need to take into account. So point number one, if a user searches for something and doesn't find it, and then they go back to Google and change their search and click on something, whatever they clicked on at the end of that second search will naturally start to rank better for the first search, even if that first search is not mentioned on their website, has no connection at all to all of your content. So let me just read that again. If a user searches for something on Google and doesn't find it, they then change their search to something similar, and then they do click on something, so they've now found what they were looking for, Google will increase the ranking of that website on the first search, which does actually start to answer a question I've always had, is why are some of my search terms in Google Search Console, which if you don't have that and you're trying to do SEO, get Google Search Console. Google will literally tell you what it sees in your site, what it ranks you for. But I've always wondered why some of the things that some sites rank for is really weird and random. That makes sense. So the solution, have multiple pages to get found for the same, and I put in inverted commas, thing. So if you're talking about, and I'll give as many examples as I can, you say somebody searches for a ballpoint pen, and then they search for a fountain pen afterwards and click on the fountain pen website, that fountain pen website might start ranking for ballpoint pen, because people that were looking for ballpoint pen didn't click on anything. They all searched that and then went through. It doesn't have to be all, but Google will watch the trend of that. Told you these are going to be quick. Number two, calling your name your main keyword, calling your brand the name of your main keyword will incur a penalty. Now, we've all probably had this question and been tempted to call our business like, you might be called activewear as your name, or you could be like the classic one that always comes to mind is like IT Business London. I did a Google earlier on today and I found 30 companies that had IT business and London all in the name of their website. So if you call your website like Shoe Factory, for example, you won't necessarily get any additional weighting because you've used the word shoe and put it in your domain. Certainly, if you were Adidas, for example, or Adidas, as some people call it, if you had your website URL as like trainersandshoes.com, Google's actually saying you'd incur a penalty. So the learning is don't do that. Just come up with a cool brand and have your domain as the name of your brand, because Google prefer that. They definitely didn't used to in the old days, because I saw lots of sites ranking number one, and I think it was just because their domain was the same as their biggest keyword. So don't do that. Number 3, this one was really interesting actually, and won't affect 99% of you, but interesting anyway. During COVID, Google created a whitelist for what could and couldn't appear for specific COVID-related searches. Now, this is probably, we can only assume, but obviously, I think it's obvious, it's so that they don't have random stuff appearing for COVID searches, because it was such a life-threatening global problem. They didn't want false information appearing, basically, so they did that. This is also, and I found in some other sources, the same for travel and politics as well. So you have to be in that whitelisted list. They don't publicize that list. Nobody knows what's on that list, but there are definitely lists for COVID, for travel, and for politics. So how interesting. So the learning is just don't put any false data on your website, and make sure you prove everything you say with facts. So if you say like we offer a 10-year guarantee, then back that up with a page of information explaining how to claim if your product breaks or something to initiate that 10-year guarantee. Nice and simple. Number 4, Google looks at, and this is what one of the sites called this, they look at what's called focus and radius. Focus, how much you focus on a specific topic. So let's choose another example. Desks. So I'm sitting at a desk right now. So Google would say, okay, if you sell desks or wooden desks, that's your main focus topic. And then the radius is, from a content perspective, how far out of the wooden desks space and content topic your site starts to go. So what Google are really saying, and this is, I've got a longer learning on this one, I think, which I've always really stuck to this anyway. So this one in particular was really reassuring for me. Be clear about what you sell and focus on it. Don't dabble and talk about other random things. Bring it back to your core topic. Now, I actually put an example on this one, and it wasn't desks, it was toilets. And I said, if you were selling toilets or lavatories, as some countries call them, you can create blogs about bathroom design, but that would be outside of that core focus, because now you're talking about the whole bathroom and you're talking about design and loads of other things as well. So to keep it on the core focus, you could talk about how the toilet or the lavatory affects the design of a bathroom. So I thought that was a good idea of that. So try and keep it focused. And immediately I can think of some content that actually clients of ours say, these are our SEO posts about our keywords. These are our non-SEO posts of stuff we just want to say. And actually Google's saying, do less of the stuff you just want to say, and actually just focus on the focus topic of your website. So as I say, if you just sell lavatories and toilets and nothing else, don't start talking about tiles and underfloor heating and lighting for bathrooms and that kind of stuff. Just focus on toilets and all the different things to do with toilets and lavatories. Keep it around that focus, which makes a lot of sense. And from an SEO point of view, there's no point writing a blog post about tiles. You don't sell them. Talk about toilets, because you do sell toilets. Anyway, enough toilet talk. So number 5, and this one is really obvious, but it did confirm this, so I thought I'd really include this. Image quality does matter. So if you've got low res images, pixelated images, images that aren't clear what the image is of as well. So if you just show somebody walking their dog with a big background behind them, that's not clear. Whereas if you show the lead between the dog and the person walking the dog and clearly show that lead and somebody holding that lead, you're obviously selling dog leads. So keep it really clear, and the quality of image, both what's in the image and the actual quality of the image file itself, both super important. Number 6. Now, this one did cause a little conversation in my team, which I'm going to continue after I've finished recording this. Domain age doesn't matter. It's only there to avoid spammy sites appearing and suddenly ranking well, which makes a lot of sense. And actually, I know I call Google out on these podcasts quite a lot, and certainly in webinars and things over the years. And we do have a poster and a few other bits. But yeah, we I haven't been assassinated by Google yet, but I know we call Google out a lot. Actually, when I start to go through these kind of things, and this one in particular about getting rid of spammy content, I do believe Google wants to do the right thing. And actually, quite a lot of policies in the way they rank sites are trying to do that. And this is exactly that. So it's saying if you've got a brand new brand, it might be for the first few weeks or months you don't rank as well as other people, but after that, you're going to be good. And I've made up weeks and months, but that's I say made up. That's based on what I've seen new brands launch as, and how much new brands have started to develop and evolve after they've launched them initially. So the learning really is a new domain can rank just as well as an old one. Don't be spammy. Okay. Number 7, page versions. Now, this one is both scary and super funny as well, I think. Google stores all versions you've ever had of every single page, but they only take the last 20 into ranking consideration. So if you've made a big mistake, I'm wondering if there's a way to kind of, and I'm saying it's very loosely, like cheat the system. If you put something spammy up, what if you just update that page 25 times quickly? So after the spammy update, or you broke something, or the page actually became a 404, if you update the page 22, 25 times or something, so the last 20 are taken into consideration for ranking, does that get rid of the error that you made? I don't know. I try to avoid tactics like that myself. Like, let's just do good marketing to our customers based on what they're looking for. SEO will fall into place. Obviously, all the technical and kind of other SEO bits in there. But yeah, be considerate when you update pages. And are you improving the page? And also, we like doing A/B tests here. So could you create a new version of the page, just show it to 20% of your audience or 50% or something, but let Google just see the original version still. So the new version, you test it from a user point of view to see if it's going to work better from a conversion perspective, people clicking through or doing what you want them to. And once you're happy, roll that out across the board. And that it's only when that new version of it becomes the default, that's when Google's going to see it and then try and work on the next update of that page as well. So work to be done, but quite exciting. Like, you improve your pages, you get better rankings, which is not new. As I say, a lot of stuff's not new. Number 8. I love this one because one of my websites is very, very short, single page website. Short content is fine. You don't have to write. And I was trying to think of a pun about this, but basically SEO essays. You don't have to write these massive chunks of content on every single page. It's still good, I believe, to have content. It doesn't say no content is fine. It says short content is fine. So we don't need to have massive essays on like a collection page on Shopify, or blog posts that go on for 5 hours and 200 screens of stuff. We don't need to do that. Short content is fine, but we still need content nonetheless. So I think being a bit more short, snappy, and to the point, that does fit the way that I see in Google Analytics and through other data tools we use. That is how people consume website content. So keep it short, keep it snappy. Yeah, that is definitely an easy and good one for homework. So focus on quality over quantity. Number 9. New links. This one's interesting. Okay. New links. So if you've not done SEO before, the more you got your website and the more links you've got coming in of value. And there's a couple other points later about what is value and what's not. But the more links you got coming in, the better, as long as they get used and stuff. We'll come on to that. But Google actually says in this leak that new links are better than old links. So if you've got 10,000 links to your site that are all amazing and you haven't generated any for 6 months, that's probably harming your rankings. They're probably coming down. So you need to keep that effort up. It needs to be continuous. One of the reasons I think they've done this is because some people hire like a link building agency for 1 month of the year and they just build any old links, which are actually rubbish. Google hates that. And so I think whenever they rolled out this update, I think would have been to follow suit on that. So it's got to be consistent. It's got to be real. And that adds more authenticity, I think, around that site if it's been running for a while. So the learning here is build good links of value all the time and make sure you get traffic from them as well. They were very, very clear. I mentioned that a second ago, but they're very, very clear on this one in particular in the leak that traffic from a link will outweigh what looks like a better link from a higher authority site and stuff with no traffic. So you want to focus on getting clicks. So it's not a case of saying to a site like, hey, could you write a blog post about us and add some links? You want that blog post itself to be a piece of marketing. So people want to click through from that blog post into your website. And that's going to have way more effect than, I don't know, Amazon's homepage linking to you and you getting no traffic. So this probably also, just thinking about it, it probably goes against what some sites used to do back in the day when SEO was in its infancy. They would have like a white background with a bit of text on top, and if you highlighted over it, you'd see tons of white text with just like the keyword written 50,000 times, white text and a white background, so you couldn't see it was there, but Google would crawl that page and go, "Oh wow, you've mentioned loft insulation London or loft insulation packs or something." 50,000 times on this page. Wow, that's amazing. We'll rank you number one, because it was literally just a voting system. It's way more sophisticated now, so don't do that. We are halfway, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, one more point, it will be halfway. Number 10, titles should match your keywords. What a relief. I've been doing that my entire career. So do that. Make sure the titles of your page, the H1, the single and only H1 on every page, make sure that includes keywords as well. To have keywords, do your marketing, do some proper marketing on that to make sure you actually have a keyword list as well. So make sure you go through your site and go, what's the keyword for this page, and is it in the title? You know, it's like almost a kind of shoot myself moment of like, okay, that one was obvious, but I thought I'd include it anyway because they made quite a big deal about that, so it's quite reassuring to me. Cool. This one's very interesting. Site-wide signals are important, is what I understand from this. Google looks at everything, even when looking at a single page. So now this one does raise a ton of homework, and again, if you want to hear kind of phase 2 after this leak, what we're doing differently or what we've tested, then do send us an email, hello@winningwithshopify.com, and just literally just say, I'd love to hear what's come off the back of some of these changes you've made, Nick, from seeing this leak. As I say, nothing's really changed here, but it's affirmed to me that actually having dead content on your website and stuff sounds like a bad thing. So if Google's looking at the whole site as a whole, we want to make sure the entire site is nicely optimized for all the things we're trying to do here. So bear that in mind. Don't just optimize one page and go, right, this thing's going to be up at number 1. Optimize everything, the structure of the site, etc., etc. Number 12. Now, this one, I was a little bit annoyed to read this, if I'm honest, because this is something my agency do. We're one of the only agencies that I'm aware of that do this. But now the leaks come out, everyone's going to be doing it. So we've lost a bit of an edge. But I'll share it today. So the site navigation is super important on a site. That should sound obvious from a UX point of view, from I'm running a store, want people to find things easily perspective. But actually the site navigation is super important in terms of what you put in the navigation, how you lay out your navigation. Literally, if you're on a mobile, clicking that little 3 lines, what we call it the hamburger menu, click that, the menu pops out and you can go into all the different categories, or you might have just one that says shop and then one to blog, one to about us, one to contact. This is saying that navigation structure is super important. So actually, and again, going back to what we said right at the start about Chrome watching where everybody clicks on a page, that navigation is absolutely imperative as a ranking factor to get good rankings here. So just be aware, guys, that actually if you just have one thing that goes into shop and then you have 5 other things that are actually, from your perspective, less important than the keywords you're trying to target under shop, which it probably is if you've got just one drop down into shop or just one button and then you enter the shop, you might want to change that. We quite often go left to right of like, if we broke all your products into 5 or 6 collections, what are they? And then left to right, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the top of the page. Obviously on mobile, you click hamburger and it's top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so if you sold, using a homeware example again, you might have one that's like furniture, one's seating, one's lighting, one's outdoor, one's outlet. Those are my 6 most important things, Google, and everything else falls underneath those 6. And so Google's going to prioritize those keywords more. So that's really, really important. Good. Number 13, unlucky for some. I don't believe in any of that, I'm afraid. Cool. Links just go to the right place. And this just sounds so obvious. Google said, if you have a link, but this is where it gets a bit more complicated. If you have a link, and I've used the example of bread and eggs because I was eating my toast when I wrote this down this morning, my eggs on toast. So if you've got a link that says bread and you click on it and it actually lands on a page of eggs and doesn't talk about bread, that's a bad link, and Google's going to mark you down site-wide probably for that. So make sure that if you link somewhere or say, if something says add to cart, make sure when you click it, it adds to cart. If something says read our blog, make sure when you click it, it goes to the blog. Nice and simple. Where this gets a bit more complicated is if you have like a section on the site where you're trying to target like vegan organic food as a keyword, but the link from the homepage that goes to that page just says like edible. The word edible is not one of your keywords. And when you land on that page, Although everything on there is edible, it doesn't say, hey, welcome to the edible page. It doesn't say edible items or edible range. You get there and it says vegan, organic food, or whatever that keyword is that I just said. So make sure the link from the homepage says vegan, organic food, bang, it goes through. That's site organization. Again, this is all about kind of content topics, a lot of these not updates, but a lot of these things that we've learned, which is cool. Cool. We're making good progress. Number 14. If users are dissatisfied, they'll leave and that hurts you. And again, I'm going to reference the Google Chrome watching every single click and time on page, usability on page, where people scroll, where they don't, etc., etc. So make sure that customers are not dissatisfied and they don't do what we call a bounce. So literally like a bouncy ball. They click on a link from Google, land on your page, and within a few seconds go, no, this isn't for me, and bounce back off. That's going to kill you on SEO. And I've seen that for years in the stats. We literally had a list of keywords and rankings for those keywords for one of our clients recently. I cross-referenced the bounce rate, and it was like everything on page 2 or lower had a bad bounce rate. And it was like, okay, we've got some UX work to do here, which is where some of the more like fluffy SEO stuff I would describe it as, like how the design of the page works, what's the call to action, the USP, the why stay on this page, why click through into the next page, etc., etc. All that kind of random fluffy stuff that you just have to sort of test and get it right. It's called marketing, and you need to do it. It is really, really important. So anyone who's new won't know my catchphrase yet, and I think I'm trying to say it in every episode at the moment. Marketing has been lost from digital marketing. So do the marketing bit. What do we sell? Who to? Why? How do you buy it? Etc. Etc. Do all of that. Lower your bounce rates. Increase your time on site. People don't need to spend a long time on your site on a specific page. They just need to complete that action. And Google will watch. Actually, this is a really streamlined, efficient site. People like buying from it. Of course, I'm going to rank it better. So that's what we need to focus on here. Awesome. Engagement. That's the word we need to focus on. Engagement. 15. This is interesting. So something is written, and I haven't checked this morning if it's gone, and I probably should have actually before recording this. And by the way, I'm recording this on the 3rd of June, so you might be watching this a day or two afterwards, but I recorded this on the 3rd of June, and certainly 2 weeks ago, before this leak happened, there is something on Google Search Console help area that says domain authority is not a metric that Google take into account. So let me read my point number 15. Google has an authority score. How exciting. So we do need to worry about authority, and good job pretty much everyone in the SEO world has. But Google might argue that it's not a contradiction. I think it kind of is. I think it's close. Because this authority score, every report I've looked at in terms of authority has looked at how many links you got from other sites into your site, the value of those, what their domain authority is pointing at your domain to give your domain more authority, etc., etc. So yeah, links are important to Google. But as we said earlier, the link, if it's got traffic, it's going to be way more important to Google. 16. Don't go mad on anchor text. This triggers a spam demotion, which is well exciting because I've never gone mad on anchor text. And what anchor text is when you hover over an image on a website, you sometimes get that little yellow or sometimes white text. Just hover your mouse over and just let go and let it hover for a few seconds. And it pops up saying like, man holding toaster. I got bread on my mind now. Man holding toasters, a man in that image holding a toaster. The anchor text is designed so that Google can see what's in the image, and also for people that are visually impaired, they can use certain tools within their browser to actually hear what the image is of. So Google's saying don't fill it with spam. So what that might be is you writing like toaster, comma, man with toaster, comma, toaster on man's hand, comma, and just adding man and toaster as many times as possible. Maybe you sell toasters. Toaster is your keyword there. So what this is saying is don't get spammy. Just keep it short and simple. I'm going to set a bit of a rule and say no more than kind of 6 or 7 words on that. And that's only if you're being descriptive. If you're just saying what it is, woman walking dog, then it's like there's a woman, she's out walking her dog, nice and simple. Just put woman walking dog and explains what it is. So yeah, don't be spammy. It is actually, and as I say, where's it gone on my list? Spam demotion is what it's been called in at least 3 or 4 of the reports I read. This is one that came up again and again. So keep it short, keep it keyword focused, keep it snappy, nice and simple. And also for the visually impaired person, you can understand why Google doesn't want these to be really, really long. Just go, oh, there's a man sitting in a Ferrari smiling. Okay, I get it. This man's happy and I'm on a get rich quick website. Nice. Which I personally probably wouldn't be. Right, number 17. I don't know where I was going with that. Number 17. Google likes larger links. Now, this is interesting. And this literally means that if you're clicking from one page on your website to another page. So say you're on a product and you click from the product to a relevant blog post that you featured on there, or click through to the sizing chart page. Google wants links to be nice and big. So actually in your design, and I imagine especially on mobile, if your thumbs are as big as mine are, I want a nice big button to click on, please. And this is all part of usability. And again, this is not new. Google's always said to make anything that's clickable nice and big. And there are some tools that will even flag if your add to cart, buy button, and any links on the page are actually too small. So definitely go and look at the design, especially I would say on collection pages and on products. Those are the two most important pages. Probably collections are probably slightly more important for keyword rankings. You know, if someone's looking for, right, let's grab another product example. They're looking for some new headphones, then you want to take them to a list of headphones where they can use the filters, scroll through, compare, all the rest of it, and choose the product they want, rather than landing on a specific product, unless they come through Google Shopping or something. Makes sense. But with the links, yeah, look at it. Tends to be like the if you expand like the description accordion or size charts, that kind of stuff, look at how big they are and think, actually, should we make those a little bit bigger? And then see, okay, well, I'm ranking for these 3 keywords. That page, sorry, is ranking for these 3 keywords. I've made them a little bit bigger and they've all gone up by 1 or 2 positions. Okay, that was quite important. We were possibly being demoted as a result of doing that. Demotion was on the last point, by the way. It just says Google likes larger links. You don't have to make them massive, don't worry, but just make them big enough people can see them and click on them. 3 more points. Point number 18. Google hates keyword stuffing. Good. I'm pretty sure they've been very vocal about that for many, many years. But again, thought I'd include it. So don't add your keywords too much on a page. Doesn't mean you don't mention them at all. You need to choose the keyword for this page, put it in the H1, the title, the meta description, and talk about it throughout the page. And again, make sure all of your keywords sit under one sort of focus for the whole site. Let's not get too broad with this thing. But yeah, don't over optimize your keywords. And we all knew that, but it's official now. It's actually been found in the API. This one's really interesting. If I'd been asked to predict what would be in there, I would have predicted probably about at least sort of 7 or 8 of the 18 so far. This one was a surprise, actually. Doesn't change anything we're doing, apart from maybe having a quick look. But point number 19 is if you have video on more than 50%, so half of your pages, you become listed as classified, as what Google calls a video site, which means your website now is like YouTube or Vimeo, not like an online shop, which is what you guys want to be known as. You all got Shopify stores, of course. So but have a real think about video. And I think there's a question here for Google really is, if on a Shopify store, if I've got a big product range of like say 10,000 products, I'm not going to have 10,000 other pages, am I? So I've got 10,000 product pages and I'm not going to have 10,000 other pages across the site. So if I have a video on every product, which I think is a good thing, user generated content, information videos, how to's, you're buying a car seat for your baby, how to fit it into the car. That's a good video. But now you've got over 50%. So does that now mean you're not a shop anymore? You're actually a video website. So maybe it's worth having multiple videos on a page that people click out to, but that feels like it goes against the usability. So this one, I've deliberately left it second to last because I think there's a bit of work to be done here. And we're certainly going to run some tests on this and see if we add a video to every product page just saying, hey, welcome to our brand. What happens to our rankings as a result? And actually, do we find ourselves listed in the video listings constantly now with that brand video on every product? So we're going to see what happens. But that is interesting, I think. And so the learning here is not to do loads of video. It's not to remove all video. I don't really know what we should do with that yet, but I think it's a really interesting thing that's been flagged actually by this leak. Number 20. Now this one is interesting because we do a lot of this, if I'm brutally honest, and we do a lot of it and we see rankings go up. And I think I know why, because it's affecting something else than this point. The point here is internal linking is not listed as a ranking factor. So internal linking is how you get from one page to another. So every page you're on, all your internal links are stuff like everything in the header, all your navigation links, and then any buttons to get off this page, whether it's going externally or internally. But this specifically is talking about internally. So links from one of your pages to another page. So say you're on a blog post and it's featuring a product and you click on that product, takes you to the product. That's an internal link. The Google was saying it has no benefit at all. But I think the reason we've seen rankings increase from doing internal linking is going back to something I said earlier. I think it makes the site easier to navigate. It lowers bounce rate, increases engagement, which we know Google Chrome is watching and documenting all of that engagement on there. So I think, I actually think that, yeah, it's probably still a good thing to look at internal linking. And certainly one of the biggest places we look at internal linking is in the navigation, which, as we read earlier, the navigation is really, really important to SEO. So I would say that internal linking itself, where Google just goes, okay, I'm on this collection for this great big keyword you want to rank for. I don't think Google's going to go, how many links are coming in here and where from and everything else. But I do think Google's going to go, okay, how did you get to this page? What was the journey, the engagement to get here? So actually, I think that links are super important. So those are my 20 points. I just want to finish off by saying that we put SEO at spec into what we call the SEO pie. And we work with brands that are doing sort of 20K a month on Shopify up to millions and millions per month. So looking at that, we always break it down with every client to what we call the SEO pie. So we've got content, we've got offsite, and we've got technical. So content we've spoken loads about today. Content's getting more and more important to Google. And these are not like 33.3% recurring each, they're not thirds. It's just these are the three things. So content's super important. We've spoken about video, text, imagery, focus keywords, not being too broad and thin with your content, focusing on the topic in hand. Then we've got offsite, which is linking. We've spoken loads about linking today. So look at your linking structure, keep building links, get traffic from links. If you're generating loads of links and not getting traffic, it's probably not working for you. And third thing is technical. So we've not really spoken much about technical. But technical includes things like page speed, code layout, how easy it is for Google to read something. So it goes without saying, if Google can't read your site properly, they're not going to rank you properly. If it loads slowly, people are going to bounce off. It lowers the usability. Content doesn't get delivered as quickly and efficiently, et cetera, et cetera. So those three areas are still super important. And as I said right at the start, like nothing's really changed here. So I've kind of rounded this off in 3 points and a recommendation for all of you. One is make sure people like your website. So do real marketing, what we're selling, who we're selling it to, where we're selling it, et cetera, et cetera. I've said et cetera a lot today as well, so apologies. Second point is have good links that people actually click on. So don't look at link building for SEO as I need some links, I need some domain authority, that the non-Google tools are going to tell me I've got domain authority. Actually look at links as like, how can we get more traffic into the site by doing some of these exercises? And finally, have a good design. To convert all of that into a lovely design, a lovely journey, a lovely experience. And that does cost money and it does take time. So pick your battles and start with what's the most important thing to my customers. Let's get that to the forefront. Now, finally, my final thing on here is an idea, a recommendation for all of you. And it's actually Google's evil nemesis, Microsoft. Check out a thing called Microsoft Clarity. Spoken about it over the last few webinars we've done. I mentioned it a few times on the podcast as well, but if you haven't already, check out Microsoft Clarity. I'd recommend installing it on your site. It's free to run. We haven't seen too much of an impact on page speed by installing it either. There was only one site where it did make an impact, but there was a different issue in the code. And that's one of the problems with coding. I find if you're not a developer is you can install one thing, it creates a problem and you can't quite work out why, how to fix it. But generally speaking, it doesn't increase page speed much at all. But what Microsoft Clarity does, you can actually watch a video of people using your website. It's the same sort of thing that a tool called Hotjar uses. It tends to be the most popular, but it's free. So you can use Microsoft Clarity free. So do that. See how people are using your website, especially the ones that jump off the website, try and click on stuff and do what one of my colleagues, Kieran, calls rage clicking. Kieran said that if on Microsoft Clarity, people just clicking like man going, this thing should be clickable and I can't click on it because it's not clickable. Make it clickable. Like that's the most obvious thing. And again, anchor text, make the link nice and big, send it to a relevant place or make it do a relevant thing on the page. So I hope today's been useful. First time I've done a whole episode about Google on my own and haven't ranted once or maybe once, twice, but I hope that's useful. If you've got any questions about the Google update or you're a brand who are like, our SEO is just not working. Sorry, I keep calling it an update. It's not an update. It's a leak. Nothing's changed. We've just been told what we should be doing, which is good. But yeah, if you are a brand that are doing 20, 30K plus on Shopify and you want to talk about SEO to us and come and have a chat, then please do. We've got a whole team of consultants just the other side of this wall that work for me at my agency Spec. So for everyone else who's been listening, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not looking for an agency, but you found this useful, please still give it a like. Hit the subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed today. See you on Friday.